All right, this is Philip Hall. I'm with Scanco Software. I'm one of the account managers over here, and I'll do the kickoff and the leading of the Increase Your Productivity and Reduce the Risk of Tax Audit webinar, and then I'm going to hand it over to my good friend Parker Wilson over at Avalara, and he's going to go into the second portion of this presentation. Before I get started, I want to thank everybody for your time. I know everybody's time is valuable. We've got a lot of information to go through, so we'll do our best to be good stewards of that time and provide information according to your needs. And of course, if you have any questions or needs or anything afterwards, please feel free to reach out to either of us, and we'll get you taken care of. All right. So to kick it off, that's me. I'm Philip Hall. I'm one of the account managers over here. I've been with Scanco for 4 or 5 years now. I specialize in manufacturing and distribution. Today, you're going to learn a little bit more about Scanco and why we're here and what we're doing and how we can help your business. We're going to kind of hone in on the Sage manufacturing modules and how they can be leveraged and used to increase productivity in your organization. We're going to make sure you understand what they are and what they do. You might not have all the information right now, but you're going to have a good picture of the first step you need to take to figure out either what you need to use or what you need to leverage more appropriately in your organization. And then we'll turn it over to Avalara to talk about the AvaTax integration that's included in some of the Scanco software pieces, and also that can be purchased and added on through them to your Sage ERP. So you're going to see a timeline here of Scanco. Since 1989, Scanco has been the leading provider of supply chain automation software and services. From our inception, we focused on innovative warehouse management solutions with a unique technology-driven approach. Our solutions deliver unequaled efficiency and visibility for distribution and manufacturing companies around the globe. From basic barcoding to the most complex distribution and manufacturing operations, Scanco software is positioned to grow with our customers' ever-changing business needs. We are focused on providing top-tier, fully integrated automation solutions built specifically for your ERP solution. Today, thousands of world-class distribution and manufacturing companies have automated their facilities with cutting-edge Scanco technology. Like I said at the beginning, we'll talk about some of the manufacturing modules that Scanco has helped Sage develop and deliver to its customer base, right? There's a lot of questions and uncertainty out here on these, and we hope to help clear those up, right? So historically, you have the work order module. It's a legacy software set that's been around for decades. It's step-based manufacturing with the ability to track labor, parts, do completions, so on and so forth for make-to-stock transactions typically. There have been some enhancements along the road that allow you to do some additional scheduling, outside processing, and make-to-order pieces, and those have been written into the production management software that you have probably heard of recently, either through your reseller or your own research. So production management is the rewrite of the work order module in the new business framework, makes it more user-friendly and more intelligent, and allows you much more access and control over your make-to-stock production transactions and processes. This is what's available now. It hasn't changed since 2019. Production management is out there with thousands of customers leveraging it today. Another manufacturing software set that you may have heard of in your review or discussions with your reseller is JobOps. JobOps has changed names a couple times, but the core of the software is the same. It changed to Sage Manufacturing, and then changed to operations management, and is now still operations management. This is more of your custom make to order, more robust type software set. We'll get into a little more of those details throughout my piece of the presentation. And then there's the field service and dispatch add-on that you can track and work with your service techs out in the field to manage contracts and maintenance and warranties and so on and so forth. That's also available today. Our partners in crime today, Avalara, have add-ons and enhancements that are either included in some of these bundles or can be added on very easily and integrated into the manufacturing processes going through your Sage 100. So who uses this software? Well, I mean, everybody from nonprofits to military contractors. We've got custom manufacturers, job shops, value add distributors, service and installation businesses, small, medium, and large businesses alike. The beauty of the software is it can be tailor-made and tailor-configured to your specific needs. You can use all or just some of the functionality housed inside of these manufacturing software sets. So it doesn't necessarily matter what you do. If you've got inventory or you're making or kitting or putting things together and selling them and trying to track the metrics and data behind that, Sage Manufacturing is going to be able to help. Now let's talk about what they actually do and why you would use them. Some of the most important benefits of manufacturing systems coupled with your ERP is the ability to leverage integrated manufacturing and distribution systems configured to your specs to control cost, increase profitability, and guarantee quality to optimize processes, automation, workflows, and increase visibility across the entire supply chain. You saw the industries we serve. An ERP properly configured with enhancements will allow you to grow beyond the traditional constraints of manual paper and pen processes. It's critical to look for functionality that enables quick, efficient, and accurate data capture and analysis to optimize budget planning cycles and arm your various departments with real-time information needed to make better decisions. Real-time analytics and more advanced planning and forecasting capabilities give you better predictability and the ability to anticipate and execute fulfillment demands and production needs. More accurate manufacturing and fulfillment reporting will allow your business to remain compliant with today's ever-increasing regulations, from tax codes, audit histories, to emerging privacy and security laws such as GDPR and CCPA. You're going to hear how AvaTax can help make sorting out what taxes mean for you a whole lot easier, because it can be confusing. Most modern companies deploy a patchwork of disconnected systems, databases, or spreadsheets that require manual data entry to maintain day-to-day operations. Streamline those with integrated tools to reduce errors that inevitably come from rekeying all of that data back into your ERP. Some of the common pains due to legacy or outdated systems: the lack of shared data of its shared data set and integrated workflows ultimately stands in the way of effective decision-making, inhibiting manufacturers and distributors from properly managing and forecasting inventory or identifying potential productivity bottlenecks. With most cutting-edge technology developed with mobility in mind, older systems just cannot collaborate effectively with the fast-paced market and fast-paced application development that's happening today. A lot of companies have islands of information, spreadsheets, QuickBooks, databases that the owner wrote or somebody wrote for them when they first started the business. And this has just evolved over time and maybe turned into some sort of Frankenstein that requires heavy lifting to maintain, operate, and dig information out of. An incomplete or disconnected view of that data across business impacts material planning, creating a need to carry excess inventory in order to protect against stockouts and complete fulfillment. This drives up cost. A lack of visibility into costing, resource allocation, or work in progress inventory can further erode profitability or create finished goods or delivery backlogs that lead to frustrating delays for our customers. Frustrated customers do less business. We need to keep our customers in today's competitive market. Technical limitations often force manufacturers and distributors to cobble together those separate systems in order to manage the day-to-day operations, production, HR, marketing, auditing, and all other functions of the business. These disconnected systems lead to information silos that make it difficult to get an accurate view of business performance metrics required for growth. So with all those pains and all those benefits, you got two options with Sage 100. You've got production management and you've got operations management. Work with your reseller or record to identify which one's the best for you, because it requires, a discovery and a needs analysis to really make the right choice. But high level, you've got the ability for native make to order and custom manufacturing, seamless integrations with Sage, real-time transactions, dynamic inventory, dynamic labor, the ability to use and leverage status codes for tracking and reporting. You cut purchase orders directly from the work ticket, interactive, flexible MRP for inventory, auto issuing of materials, integrated serial number databases, cost summary, profit analysis, and complete detailed history of jobs. These are just some of the enhancements and functionality that manufacturing software for Sage brings to the table. We mentioned mobile development earlier of apps. What does that mean? What is mobility? Sage Mobility is the connection inside of Sage to all things mobile for Sage. Utilize mobile apps to automate supply chain and manufacturing processes and transactions to help garner stronger customer service, on time and complete order fulfillment, and maintain production schedules. Provide integrated real-time mobile connections directly into Sage from iOS, Android, and depending on your deployment, Windows devices. All Sage 100 and 100C customers have access to mobility. All barcode modules get it. All barcode users get it when you upgrade to one of the Sage subscriptions past 2018. If you're looking at or operating a warehouse management system such as Multibin, all of the manufacturing software we've discussed and all of the mobile apps that help you increase efficiencies are included in that package and is fully integrated. Excuse me, the Multibin is not included, but all of these integrations work seamlessly with the Multibin. So if they're included and you're using the Multibin, not a problem. You can continue operating as such. To use and leverage mobility, we typically see and deploy scanners. These can be handheld devices. They can be fixed mount terminals with tethered scanners. The tablets, the hardware that the industry has created has come a long way. We see vision, Google goggles. That's an interesting. Down the road where you can actually take it out of the hands. So, this technology is growing at a rapid pace, and we're going to be here to leverage that to help get the most out of your employees, the most out of your ERP, the most out of your manufacturing and processes that have built your business. I appreciate your time on the manufacturing piece. That's my contact information there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it over to my good friend Parker Wilson at Avalara, and he is going to take you through the wonderful world of taxes. And Parker, I'm going to make you the presenter now, and you should have the floor.
Fantastic. I'm not sure which screen I'm showing. Hopefully it's the right one. Let me, haven't used GoToMeeting before.
You had it there just a second ago. That was it.
Oh, it was it. Okay, fantastic.
There you go.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks so much for walking through that for us. Where we tie in, right? Avalara and Scanco are arguably the top two ISVs. I think we've both won awards recently with Sage. So our partnership kind of runs deep, and you can always work with your reseller of record to get more information from both of us, as well as work with your Scanco rep to connect as far as additional detail that you have. A little bit about myself. Born and raised here in North Carolina. Been with Avalara for almost 10 years. Like Philip, I also specialize working with Sage clients like yourself in the distribution and manufacturing space. I went to school in Connecticut, so you'll hear a little bit of my quick talking from being up in New York for a while, so we can get through this presentation, because I want to be cognizant of your time. So as far as the agenda for today, we have the sales tax overview, kind of why sales tax matters, Going to talk a little bit about economic nexus, what triggers it, and then going to talk a little bit about the solution itself and how we can potentially help you all. So before we dive into that, just a little bit about Avalara. Been in business since 2004, have 23 offices in 13 different countries. That was a little different before COVID. We have downsized a little bit as far as our offices, but we still have over 4,400 employees. A little bit of detail from 2021. We managed more than 30 million exemption certificate documents. We have over 1,200 different signed partner integrations. So outside of just Sage, if you have a shopping cart or another platform based on having multiple businesses and things of that nature, more than likely we can certainly help you with that. We did 33.9 billion AvaTax API calls in 2021 alone. So as far as scalability, we can certainly help you no matter the size. We did more than 4.1 million returns prepared in 2021 alone, and we have over 30,000 clients from 95 different countries. So looking forward to helping you if sales tax compliance is something that is on your plate and you want to automate that. So let's talk a little bit about kind of why sales tax matters. What we have found is that states are in desperate need of revenue. Auditors are one of the high grossing or bring in a lot of the actual revenue for states. As you can see there, 48% of total state revenue is from sales and gross receipts taxes alone. So an auditor or being audited is not something anyone wants to deal with. We don't want to put that bad juju on you by any means, but it is something that as a business owner, you need to be aware of how this can potentially happen. When we talk about economic nexus laws and kind of where you owe or where you have this obligation, or maybe again kind of why this matters, every single state in the union has a economic nexus statute. Florida and Missouri were kind of the last two to add these. So knowing, and we know the clientele that we're speaking to as far as the manufacturing distribution, we'll get into, you're probably sitting there thinking, well, Parker, we don't have an obligation, right? We don't have a nexus. We'll get into that here shortly. Just a quick definition of nexus as a whole before we kind of get into the nitty gritty. It really is just a connection between a seller and a state that requires that seller to then collect and remit sales tax to that state or prove why you don't, right? Having that exemption certificate. So certain business activities create that physical presence. And so these are the things that we'll talk about and why and how this may apply to you. And so when we think about sales tax, we think about the where, so where you owe or where you have an obligation, the who, right? So for you all, the who you're selling it to makes what you're selling exempt, and then the what you're actually selling can potentially change the taxability as well. So when to collect or when you have an obligation. So again, kind of going back to sales tax nexus, kind of talking through that, there's a couple different ways that you can create nexus, right? So there's the physical nexus, there's the economic nexus, there's the click-through nexus, affiliate nexus, and potentially marketplace nexus. One thing that I want to focus on deeply here is physical presence nexus. Mainly when I am working with and dealing with manufacturing businesses like yourself, they don't think they have an obligation because of the economic nexus thresholds don't apply to them. But what they forget is the physical presence creation activities. So having locations in multiple states, doing maintenance or service or repairs on site with your employees or 1099 contractors, owning or leasing real property or equipment, hosting data centers, doing any type of license or royalty fees, having those field sales reps in the area, doing any type of direct sales or online sales where you physically travel there, maintaining inventory in states, attending trade shows, paying commissions to 1099 employees, doing any type of drop shipping scenarios. All of these can potentially trigger or create an obligation for you in a state when it comes to physical presence nexus. So now touching on economic nexus again, this nexus horse, we can't talk about it enough because it is kind of the first piece or the most important piece of sales tax. It's because you have to know where you owe or where you have an obligation. Most of the manufacturers we work with or talk to, they say, hey, we don't have an obligation via the South Dakota versus Wayfair because everything we sell is exempt. So we actually have a couple slides outlining what these thresholds are, but the most important one is going to be the one outlining or showing where the state itself includes exempt sales in their thresholds. So as you can tell, majority of the states that are in green do include exempt sales in their threshold. So they're looking at gross receipts, they're looking at gross sales. So if you're someone that was just recently saying, well, Parker, we don't have an obligation because of we're due mainly exempt sales, this should kind of show you that you might want to take a second look, or you might want to do some additional research, or have Avalara help you kind of do that research. Even California, exempt sales are included. It's exempt services that are not included in the threshold. Similar with New Mexico, exempt sales and exempt services are not included in the threshold. So that's kind of why it's mixed there. New York, exempt sales are included in the threshold, but exempt services are excluded. So both New York and California include exempt sales. They just don't include exempt services. Here are a lot of the common questions that we get about economic nexus is, hey, when do I have an obligation to begin collecting sales tax once I pass the threshold? Unfortunately, the answer for majority of these is it varies by state. So in some states, it can be the next transaction. In other states, it can be 30 to 60-day grace period. So it really depends on the state in question. What type of sales are included in these thresholds? We kind of went over that based on majority of the states are looking at both taxable and exempt transactions. A lot of them are looking at gross sales, and then just a few of them are only looking at taxable sales. So as far as marketplace facilitator laws, it varies by state, but some of the states include them and others don't. Are changes ever made in these thresholds? The answer to that is yes. We've actually seen a lot of changes from a specific threshold to a new one. Most of them kind of started at 250 or 500,000. A lot of them have dropped to 100,000. California started at 100,000 and then moved up to 500,000. As far as the audit risk that we're kind of speaking to, here's just some brief numbers kind of outlining the risk associated, right? So not to scare anyone, but just want to show kind of the facts that we have pulled out. And then on the right-hand side kind of shows the manual cost of compliance depending on kind of employees there. So as far as now, hey, well, what does this mean for my business, and what are the steps that we can take to kind of become compliant and help our business? We've kind of put together the 5 steps to managing sales tax compliance. It's going to be understand where you have an obligation, register in those states to start collecting sales tax or exemption certificates, and then file the sales tax returns or file a $0 return. Have a tool to help you calculate it if you don't have an exemption certificate, track and manage those exemption certificates, and then remit the sales tax. So as far as step 1, kind of know where your business must collect tax. Doing some research on your own or leveraging a partner like Avalara or a CPA or tax attorney that you have maybe on retainer, working with those folks and understanding your business and knowing where you have that obligation. We'll get here shortly. We do have some services for this, so we'll talk about those as well. As far as registering and collecting, it's just understanding where you have that obligation first, then moving forward with the actual registration process of getting registered in that business. Avalara has registration services as well as business license management tools that can help you with this. And then being ready to start collecting and remitting the sales tax through our AvaTax engine or the Sage sales tax module. It's actually white labeled by Sage and resold by Sage. Again, working with your reseller of record to get in contact with Avalara as well as your Scanco rep. We're happy to help if we can. The second piece is calculate the correct sales tax, right? So that AvaTax module or the Sage sales tax module built into your Sage platform can take over the mundane task of knowing what amount you need to collect, how much you need to collect, where you need to collect. Here is just a quick example of Commerce City. Across the street, the rate can change from 9.25 to 4.75. That's a big jump and a big variation in price, and you could be on the hook for that. When it comes to managing your exemption certificates, we also have a tool that Sage is white labeled called Sage Certificates that can manage the entire life cycle of these exemption certificates, ensuring that you have them on file, that they're valid, and that you have basically not charging that customer that you have the certificate on file for. If you don't have the certificate, for full compliance purposes, you should be charging that customer sales tax until you get that certificate. And then finally, the actual remittance to the sales taxing jurisdiction. Avalara has services that can assist you with kind of all 5 of these steps. As far as filing your sales tax returns, we can do that in an automated fashion and seamlessly doing that as far as automating, streamlining, creating those efficiencies so you don't have to be the one that's actually filing the paper form or doing it online. So kind of reiterating those steps again, making sure that you kind of know where to collect, where to register, how to calculate the sales tax, track those exemption certificates, and file and remit. Have a quick fun kind of can you guess in Maryland which ice cream brand is tax exempt? And yes, one of them is tax exempt. It is Ben & Jerry's. So normally sold in a 16-ounce container, it is exempt, while Haagen-Dazs in the 14-ounce is taxable. So the amount of ice cream you have in container can make you exempt in Maryland. So knowing these tax rules, just one of them there just goes to show that it can be complicated and convoluted. We're happy to step in and help. As far as kind of why you should automate, we have a couple of things here as far as the accuracy, creating those efficiencies, increasing customer satisfaction, the risk management behind it all, and then as your business grows, we can be there for you. Here's some questions that we have to ask yourself and starting to think about these things. Kind of how many states are you in today? Do you need to register in additional states? What percentage of your customers or businesses are exempt? How do you plan to collect and update that information? And what does the customer experience look like today as far as collecting those certificates? Do you have or are you planning to create and improve your online B2B experience? What is the quality of the actual documents that you have on file today? Can you afford to delay orders or lose business? And then do you have do you have the tax compliance expertise in-house to ensure what you're collecting is accurate and valid? So I know I ran through this pretty quickly, but I'll be remiss if I didn't mention the sales tax risk assessment that we have, or the promotion that we're running with Scanco. So get with your Scanco rep if you do need help with understanding where you have obligations based on some of the questions that we asked. This would be a free service for us. So that's a $4,500 value for free as far as us performing and understanding where you have those obligations. So kind of step 1 there. So I know we ran through that very quickly. Again, my northern accent kind of probably came out as far as talking really quickly, but wanted to make sure I got through all of that. So if you do have questions, get with your Scanco rep or your reseller of record. Happy to work with you if you do have questions. Otherwise, thank you so much again for your time. Scanco, we really appreciate you allowing us to present with you. Hopefully this was helpful and provided a lot of detail. If there are questions, happy to answer them. I do have some additional time that we can stay on, but also want to be cognizant of your time as well.
Hey, Parker, I looked in the questions. I don't see any. So, I want to follow that. I appreciate everybody's time. If you have questions, get with your reseller record, Parker, myself. We'd be happy to help any way we can. With that, everybody have a great day. Thank you so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you next time. Go out there and get them.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much.